this is going to be like a nice little fireside chat. All ice cream aside, today's review is of A Secret Kept by Tatiana de Rasnay, which I obviously picked up from the library and have recently finished. If you watched my March TBR, you will see that I did indeed finish this book, which was my goal. I sort of like lost my way and didn't want to pick it back up. It had been a real struggle, but it is now done, and of that I am very glad. So A Secret Kept is about Antoine Ray and his sister Melanie, who are Parisian, and go to visit the small island town of Noirmoutier, which is in France. They are French, so they travel there for her 40th birthday. It's a celebration, and they are going back to this small little hotel where they visited so many times as children with their parents and grandparents. However, on their way home, the memories have been stirred up about being there so much as when they were children, that when Melanie is driving, she suddenly remembers something huge about her mother's past, their mother's past really, and crashes the car. So they wind up at the hospital. Melanie has some very, very serious injuries, and Antoine is fine, and the car is totally just beyond repair. While the healing process is going on, there is this sort of push for Antoine, who she calls Tonio, to find out exactly what it was that disturbed Melanie so much that she crashed the car and went off of the road. And that is where the story begins. What is the secret that was being kept from them as children for the past 40, almost 50 years now? I was expecting a lot out of this book because of Sarah's Key. Tatiana de Rasnay wrote Sarah's Key, which I read while I was in London, and I really, really enjoyed it. This book I was not so impressed with. I wasn't really concerned for any of the characters. Yes, I did want Melanie to pull through in the hospital. She was really the only one that I actually totally cared about. Although I guess other than the children. Antoine has 3 children, Arnaud, Margot, and Lucas. Arnaud is the oldest, Margot is the middle daughter, and Lucas is the youngest. He's 12, he's about to be a teenager. He was actually my favorite character. He was the only one whose spirit I really actually cared for. But no one was such an interesting character that I was really desperately concerned about their role in the plot at all. So many things happen in this book. You kind of go into it thinking that there is this top of the story tragedy, the car crash, that is the real focus and the drive for the rest of the plot. And it definitely is. It definitely gets the ball rolling for the rest of the story. However, there are so many further mishaps and tragedies, just one after the other, throughout the rest of the plot, that it's just too many. It feels like bomb after bomb of bad luck on these characters, and it doesn't really feel believable, and I think it actually detracts from the main plot of the story, which is Antoine trying to figure out the secret that has been kept from his sister and him. And I think it's an interesting idea, this car crash that spurs this secret, and will Melanie recover, etc., etc., and that's a great idea to pull the story along. It's an interesting plot, but I think it was definitely buried, and I eventually was just not concerned about anything that kept coming up, whether it was death or whether it was this person is sick or whether it didn't matter what it was. Like, a cat could have gotten run over by a car in the middle of Paris and I would have just been like, okay. And this is coming from someone who actually watched a cat get run over on her birthday recently, so I would have pretty strong feelings about an incident like that. On top of that, I don't feel like any of these small tragedies or mishaps ever really get resolved. They seem to have, they come out and they happen and you see reactions and those reactions take place and then the chapter sort of moves on and there's no real definite resolution to everything. At the end there's sort of a spelling out almost of the findings from the plot, I guess, and that it's just not ideal. Like, it's nice to have that recap in the story, but it feels so forced. The way it's written just makes it feel very forced, and I understand the situation that it was presented in, but I don't think it was executed well. It was not successful. Additionally is the problem of Angèle. There is a character, her name is Angèle, and she was too perfect. I think she was written in a way that tried to present her as having flaws. She has a job that is not traditionally held by women. She doesn't really want to settle with anybody. She's sort of one of those, you know, women on a mission, does her work and like doesn't take any shit from anybody, and like that's fine, that's the kind of character she is. But in the situation that she was presented with Antoine meeting him, she seemed too perfect, and I didn't really believe her. I can see why she was necessary to the story, but again, just another character that I didn't really feel attached to whatsoever. Lastly, if this wasn't translated from French, it certainly reads like it was. The dialogue and the narration is very, very formal. There are no contractions in words, there's no real there's no slang, there are no colloquialisms, and the few that there are sort of jar you a little bit when you come across them because the rest of the book isn't like that at all. So in the end, I would give A Secret Kept by Tatiana de Resnais 3 out of 5 stars. I did like it. It was there. I think Sarah's Key is better. If you are interested in France, she's definitely an interesting author to read because she is French and she knows France. And if this sounds like it's of interest to you and you don't mind all of the things that I talked about, I would say go ahead and pick it up. As always, thank you very much for watching. All of the links to whatever you're looking for are down below. I hope you're having lovely weeks and lovely lives, and we'll see you very soon.